Beach City Church.
Yes, come check us out. ReachChurchCLE.com. Follow us on Instagram, Reach Church CLE, Facebook, Reach Church CLE. All that stuff. Just follow us and come hang out with us.
They're in Cleveland. It's a church plant. You got to go support them. Check it out.
For
Great
sure.
people there. Great preaching.
For
the
sure.
First Lady is fantastic.
You lucky she's probably in a meeting, so she's not listening to you right now.
It's all right. I got to slip that in whenever I can. When she sees me, she's always like, you. She's so, I'm sick of you. So,
if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell so you get notified when we're on. And also comment and welcome yourself like Oris always does. Say good morning.
I heard from our friend Kelly that we've got our visitor from Ecuador.
Yes,
is going to be
is coming.
She's going to come see us in studio here.
And her daughter's also coming.
Couple weeks.
And she is Team Brian.
Obviously.
Hello. Yeah, right.
That's their smart daughter. That's their smart daughter. So, Pastor Tanks, tell us what happened on Facebook when you encountered an issue related to marriage.
Oh, yeah. So, if y'all wasn't listening, if y'all were listening, you know. If you weren't listening,
what's
it's
your
okay.
problem?
We still love you. But no, yeah, we were just talking about how it's just this new wave of individuals that view it to be negative for you to say that marriage isn't easy. And they view that as like a negative kind of statement and just view it as negative. Like you're being negative, that's your experience. Don't manifest that. Literally, those are some of the words. Don't manifest that. Words have life, and it's like and you're just trying to get people to understand that like marriage not being easy is not a negative statement necessarily. Now, if you got somebody that's grumpy and hates their marriage, then yeah, probably. But if you're not like me, then saying marriage isn't easy is just trying to let people realize that marriage takes work. To have a healthy marriage, you have to put some work in to have a healthy marriage.
So would you go as far as to say, I mean, some people might go, fine, we'll get in an argument now and again.
You're
But
right.
what about seasons? Have you had seasons with Dee Dee that are like, it's hard?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, for sure. I mean, our marriage has had a few seasons where it's just hard. I mean, dynamic change makes things hard. And it's not, and when people hear that, they hear like, oh, it's the spouse type thing. And I don't know, I'm sure there's some unhealthy marriages that maybe that's the case. But a lot of times it's this, we're trying to say the season is hard. The adjustment is hard. Trying to figure out how to have balance is hard. Trying to figure out each other in this seasonal change is hard. It's not a negative knock on the actual spouse. Like it's not saying, yeah, man, my wife is just, man, we had a season where she was just a difficult woman. like no, we're just saying like there's seasons.
Len says that, but not,
No, actually,
not you.
if we're going to keep it real, though,
Sometimes
maybe
you
there's
need it.
something wrong with my marriage, but there are seasons where the person straight up, and I've had those myself, unlikable, unlovable.
Right. No, and
Is there something like, are those the moments where people maybe say, man, maybe I'm with the wrong person?
yeah,
You know?
I mean, I think that too. But even with those situations, like for sure, I know there's times when I'm just like when I was working third shift all the time. Like that was a season where my wife would tell you like. My husband wasn't an enjoyable person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You hated that job.
Yeah, because I hated it. I was tired all the time. I was working 12-hour shifts, then going to the church, and I was in school, and we had kids. Like, I was just, I was a grumpy old man for sure. Man, in that sense.
No, you said it.
But
Grumpy old man.
But even in that vein, the problem though is still the season.
Your wife, you were very unlikable then.
See?
Amen.
Hey, she's watching.
Amen.
That means she's hearing you, Brian.
She won't even comment. I'm nervous now that she's here. I won't say
And
much.
so, but that was
You
the
were very unlikable.
very unlikable.
She's like, wait, not unlikable.
very
Very
unlikable. It was reality. But even with that though, like to what Jannelle was saying, that's still a season in life.
It's a long period of time.
That is affecting the person. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, no, this person sucks as a human being. He's not navigating me. Wasn't navigating this season of my life well.
But when you're younger or when you're just in marriage or maybe approach it for the first time, you don't see it as that.
Right.
What helps me is Len's kind of thing. He says this all the time. He says a lot of stuff all the time. But he does. He's like an old guy. But he says...
he is.
For real. Actually, Okay, remind me to tell you something that he heard at the JCC. So he always tells me, this is a marathon. Like, we're going to have dips and we're going to have, like, it's good. Mm-hmm. He receives it well. But when you don't have perspective, you may think, whoa, like, this is who I married?
Yeah.
You know, and it can make you kind of want to jump ship.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, no, people go, like, in the long term, people go through these seasons and we're good, you know?
That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Like, if you're talking to someone that's not married, you're going to have some long seasons where you regret the person you picked. Why get married then?
But but I think what Jannelle is saying is, though, it's an immature mindset.
Yes, yeah.
It's not a reality. So, for instance, right, me and my wife, I told you, we asked for the divorce coming back from the honeymoon.
Who did that? Whose idea was that?
Probably
divorce?
Didi's like, I'm done with this.
Honestly, I'm trying to remember. I think it was like a mutual us.
Okay.
Like, we wrote, it was a letter. Like, it was just a really bad season. Like, a couple times. I mean, we had that. The first year of marriage was difficult. Me packing bags, trying to go to my dad's house. Luckily, my dad was like, you ain't coming to live here. But take your butt back home.
Is that what your dad did?
Like, but here's the thing.
See, people need to hear that, though. You literally packed a bag and were like, I'm out of here. And you went to your dad's house and he's like, get your behind back home.
Yeah, it was a few times. You know what I'm saying? And but
Didi Tanks is like my idea.
It was right. I wanted to say, I wanted to say it was hers, but I was like, I don't really remember, and I don't want to throw her under the bus. Because I've learned now not to throw your wife under the bus.
Hello, yeah.
But it's
you were likable. It was my idea.
Right. And so what happened was, but here's the thing though. And so we were hitting such a hard patch that we did feel like that was like, oh, this is the worst thing, wrong person, we heard from God wrong. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, here's where a lot of things shifted in our life. Now, there's a lot to our story, so I'm skipping like leaps and bounds of stuff. But one of the things that I can remember one night was crying. Like, man, I can't, because we had a blended family too. We had a lot of dynamics in our marriage that we had to deal with that we didn't understand. And I remember one day crying and saying, man, I can't be in this marriage. And I'm talking to God, because I'm also like, can't get divorced technically, right? Like, and my pastor keeps sending me back too. I keep trying to tell him, he's like, man, And so we'll meet with y'all again. And so I remember this very vividly. One day I'm crying about it, and I'm praying to God in tears. And not like sobbing, but just some tears, you know.
It'd be okay if you sobbed.
Yeah, but I wasn't sobbing, though. And so, and I remember God said this. God said, because this was the exact words from my wife. No lie. She said she doesn't love me. There was a season where she literally said to me, I don't love you. And that's what I was trying to remember. And so that caused me, this was probably like 4 months in, maybe 5 months in. And that caused me, and I'm praying to God. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, and I got to stay?
Yeah.
And I remember what brought me to tears was God said so clear to me. He was like, then love her enough that she'll fall in love with you. And I'm like, I'm not loving nobody that just told me they don't love me. I don't care if it was the depot speaking or not. Like, no. And literally, God began to shift my mind to begin to understand what it means to love, what it means to love sacrificially, what it means to look in the mirror and realize things about me like I wouldn't have loved me either. It's easy to be like, oh, Dad, she told you that? That's rough. But it's like, but no, when I did introspective and started looking, I wouldn't have loved me either, right? Because at that season, I didn't understand how to blend family. So I'm telling my wife, like, you know, you're never more important than my kids. Like, what do you mean? Like, these is my kids. Like, you know, like, and so she's hearing that from me. And obviously that's not the typical way you get married, you know. So then you like, it's God, wife, kids, right? And then I'm like, it's God, my kids, you, right? And because I'm like, because what do you do when you're a new person married and you come to the marriage with 2 kids? Yeah. All my life has been me and my girls, like so then trying to figure, like, it was like I said a lot of things, and so I had to realize, like, no, I didn't make it easy for my wife to love me, because really she's coming into a situation with none of this, so she's just the typical, I'm getting married, and I'm coming with kids, sexual experience, bad vibes, whatever. And it's like, and now it's like, it's really her world that was crushed, not mine. Yeah. Right? It was her expectations that was like, wait, they didn't tell me that this was what this, like, what is going on here?
She married the guy that had the pet crocodile in the corner, right? Alligator?
Right, the alligator, get it right.
Alligator.
And
the
so,
collar.
and so I had to learn, in that season, God broke me down. And so the reason I'm sharing that is because I thought it was because it's not the right person. Now we're 8 years in, and our marriage is healthy, and we realize more and more why God actually put us together in the way he uses us to do some amazing and crazy things, and how our marriage is healthy. And doesn't mean we don't disagree anymore about stuff, but it's healthy. And so we understand now, but back then we didn't. And we just thought that it's trouble, that means it's the wrong person. And what I had to learn was that was just an immature mindset. Trouble, warning, problems don't mean run away. It means, it's usually saying something has to change, something has to adjust. You can throw the spouse out, or you can do the work to figure out what's making your spouse unhappy, what's making you unhappy, why don't y'all agree on anything, why aren't y'all communicating about anything. Like, that's the piece when I tell people it's work.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and Sarah and I have learned in just the last year even the challenge of, as you, like, when you're arguing early on in marriage, or for some people decades in, you turn away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
But really what you have to learn how to do is how to turn towards each other in conflict and difficulty.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge that involves sacrificial love and understanding.
And intention
And,
in terms of how you turn toward each other. But I think a lot of it is we don't educate. We're not educated on it. And then, like, people in our season don't turn back and help younger people in terms of learning how to do that. I want to talk to the people on YouTube. And if this is your first time, welcome. Make sure to comment, introduce yourself, and subscribe. Okay, so click the button. Coretta on YouTube says,
You're bossy.
I am bossy. Coretta says, and this is the love of God, that he loved us before we could ever know what it means to love him. Christ-centered marriage 101. Keep being a reflection of Jesus and his bride. Good morning, Oris. And then lots of thoughts on Facebook. Giselle says, marriage is a process similar to life. Only when you stick with it will you see the benefits. Some seasons really test you, but when you understand your commitment, you stick to it. Sometimes we won't like each other, and that's when you have to go back to the reasons why you married each other. Don't give up. We just made 25 years married in April. Giselle, that thought that you brought up is actually in Dr. Gottman's book, 7 Principles to Make Marriage Work.
Great book.
And Len and I went through just the first 4 chapters. We'll probably cover 1 chapter in DR when we're alone. But it was like 2 days of intensive going through the book together, because most of it is exercises. And one of them was that. One of them were a series of questions helping us each kind of go back and remember, like, why am I with you? What did I like about you? What attracted me to you? Because he said we forget that, and we get so caught up in the things we don't like and the grind of every day that you, like, reviving that, like what originally got you together and your feelings in the beginning is essential. But it sounds so minor that we kind of underestimate.
Well, life comes in waves. I mean, you get married, you start to figure it out. You get kids, start all over again. Job change, start all over again. Move, start all over again. Like, it comes in waves.
That's what we tell people all the time. Like, and I mean, we're Christians here, right? And so that's why I'm always telling people, like, I know it don't. I mean, I know our divorce rates are high. That's just unsubmitted people to the Holy Spirit in the church. But I'm like, it has to be something higher than her beauty, in which you call your love for her or him, right? Because if you're a woman, because like we were saying, I gotta have something bigger than that I'm looking to in those moments when I'm not feeling like I love you, right? When I'm not feeling like you sexy, but you ain't beautiful to me right now, right? And for us as believers, it's supposed to be our love for God, right? And I'm not saying that means that I'm not condemning anybody about, like, I'm doing a whole thing anyway. But so for us, me and my wife, we always, one of the things that we had to start going back to when we realized that our pastor wasn't going to let us get a divorce was, okay, what can we go back to in our marriage? And for us, we had these tests in our engagement process to find out, like, is God saying that we are supposed to be together? And so we would go back to those kind of seemingly miracles that God would do when we would pray certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like I would pray things like, God, if I'm supposed to marry her, man, she's gotta love my kids. And we'll go out to lunch one day, and we're sitting at, I think it was Applebee's, and we're just talking, and she just out of nowhere says, man, I really love those girls. And I'm like, okay, God, that's one. You know what I'm saying? Or I didn't have a good job at that time. I was making like $9 an hour at one job, then working another job, making $12 an hour. I was killing myself, and I was like, God, I can't. Like, I'm only dating for marriage, and so if this is who you want me to marry, you gotta change my job situation. Yeah. 3 days later, I get a call from a job I applied for a year ago to come and take the test, and so I go from $8 and $12 an hour to $60 a year, right? And so it was like, okay, that's two.
And God does those things for us.
Yes.
When we're connected to Him and praying for Him, if we ask Him to guide us down a path, He'll do it.
Yeah. And so we go back to that, like, hey, I don't know, we may not like each other right now, but God wants us together. And so we got to focus on what God is trying to do in our commitments, and then do the work on ourselves and the sacrifice that it takes for ourselves, because that's the biggest part of marriage. Like for me, I believe the biggest work in marriage is the me dying to myself part, because that's the thing, we the ones that get in the way most of the time. It's ourself, and not wanting to die to ourself and being mad at, why I gotta die today? She should die today. It's, you know what I'm saying? I died yesterday.
I'm tired of dying.
I died yesterday.
I'm always dying.
Yes. Make sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Continue the conversation. Coretta on YouTube says, I go to Reach from Cleveland. Good morning, y'all.
That's our homie.
And Facebook, I want to say what's up to Rob. What's up, Rob? He says, my dude, Pastor Tanks.
What's up, Rob?
Angie, hi. Sarah from Ecuador says, fun question we like to ask when we're in group settings with other couples. How long after you said I do did you have your first fight or disagreement? Probably 90% of the couples we ask say same day. Couples need to understand before marriage that the disagreement and hurts come, and we have to learn how to resolve them.
All right, well.
Candace, I haven't seen you a lot on Facebook. What's up? She says good morning. Hi, Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Don't forget to go visit and or join Reach City Church in Cleveland's Huff neighborhood. Tell them how to get there again.
Oh, so you can find us on the internet at www.reachchurchcle, Facebook Reach Church Cleveland, Instagram Reach Church Cleveland, and yeah, so we have services 11:30 on Sundays inside of St. Martin de Bourges High School on 62nd and St. Clair. So new church plant, man, growing. And we've been around. I mean, COVID year, so if you want to count that, cool.
It's a tough year to start the church.
That was yeah. We launched and then COVID came, so so yeah, man, we're still growing. Still got a lot of pieces that we're trying to figure out. And so, man, if you're looking for a place to worship, if you're looking for a place to heal, or whatever the case may be, man, consider coming to hang out with us on one Sunday. We'd love to have you.
And they can meet Dee Dee.
And they can meet my awesome wife. She's awesome.
Aww.
Really awesome.
Hey, Brandy, Angie, Sherry, and Miss Anita's here. Hey, I love y'all.
She know.
My wife's here watching too.
Miss Anita know.